Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Miscellaneous Candor. Frank, honest, and otherwise outspoken. Here we are. This week, we're a day late. Why? Because Steven was on vacation. Okay, but that's all right. Steven with a PH, did you have fun?
Well, with that start, yes, Robbie. Hello, my friends. It is I, Stephen. With that, I'm still recovering. I'm still recovering from my trip. It is I, Stephen, with a PH, Kennedy, board certified atheist at your service. Yes, I was in New Orleans for about 5 days, and I had a very good time. I thought some of the stuff that attracts tourists was pretty gimmicky. I still did it, but it was a great way to meet people. And it's part of the thing. Like you got to take the cemetery tour at 11 p.m. and you got to try to get scared. I was really hoping to get scared, but it just didn't happen. And we stayed at a haunted hotel.
Oh, you
Uh,
did?
oh yeah, Unfortunately, I did not see any ghosts. Our closet door would open by itself once in a while, but probably has to do with the wind or it's a creaky old building. Who knows what it is?
Did
But
you feel any energy?
no, no energy.
So you didn't feel anything different, otherworldly?
No, no.
Do you believe that you have the capacity to feel anything ethereal or otherworldly? Since you're
I'll
yeah, I
tell
would
you
think
this.
so. I would
I'll
think
tell you
so.
this.
Yes, uh-huh.
I I think I may possibly have the ability to feel it because I have felt it once in my lifetime.
When?
Um,
When? Tell this story, Stephen with a
Well,
P.
why do you have to do that to me, Stephen? Why are you mocking my name? You know,
Just go on, just go on. Tell the audience. So like, yeah, for real, for real.
well, I used to work in a PR firm, PR branding advertising firm years ago, and it was an old building, and it was like that whole loft setup. It was like an unfinished kind of that cool vibe, right? But it was a really old building, and the basement was supposed to be haunted by a woman that used to be a testing, which is I can't remember her name. She's some famous chef that used to be the testing chef for clients in that basement years ago. Obviously I don't believe in that shit, right? But
Mhm.
um, so I had no fear of that. So I'd be working late into the night, 10, 11 o'clock when the entire office was cleared out. I'd be in that office all by myself. But, the basement is also where all the candy and everything was. So at 10 o'clock at night, I'd be the only one in the building. I'd go down into the basement and to get some candy. And
Mhm.
I'm not kidding, I started feeling something. I started feeling some like I felt like I wasn't the only one. I felt there was something there, right? And so I started doing it more often because I wanted to understand because I don't get scared by that stuff. So I
Mhm.
started going down, and every time I went down there, I'd feel like something warm, something would make my skin kind of my I don't know, just this feeling. And of course, I just let it go because I'm like, it's just my mind, right? Or it's just there's some hot air that's circulating in the basement that's making me feel this way, whatever. And it was I don't know, maybe it was the whole vibe, right? But my parents came into town,
Mhm.
and I took them to see my office, right? And I take my mom, and I hadn't told her any of this. I take my mom into the basement of this
Mhm.
building, and she says, "Why do I feel? I feel like there's something here. I don't. I feel like we're not alone. There's something. There's something else here. There's some spirit or something." And I said, You seriously feel that?" And she's like, "Yeah. I don't feel like we're alone. Let's get out of here. I don't feel right." And then
Mhm.
after that, I told her the story, and she was shocked.
But you didn't feel it, she felt it.
She felt it, and like I said, I felt it before, but I didn't. I don't believe in that stuff, so I didn't tell her that history.
Okay, so wait a minute. So, okay, I wanna get this right. You don't believe in ghosts, but you stayed at a hotel in New Orleans that was haunted with ghosts?
I'll tell you.
What on?
I'll tell you why. Because in my mind, it's either prove me wrong or I'm going to prove you wrong. Because I want to be proved wrong. You know, you hear so much about the ghosts and spirits in New Orleans. Okay, if you say your hotel is haunted, prove it to me. Otherwise, I'm just going to walk away laughing, and I'm going to tell everyone that it's a lie.
So you feel like if you don't experience it, then it's a lie.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Clearly, you don't feel the same way I do. I can
No, I mean,
tell
I
by your
think that
tone.
that is like there's so much in that statement. I'm just gonna not even go there. But
No, in fact,
no, I mean, this is
unload on me.
we have
Unload.
so much to go. And we have so much to talk about today. Okay, so you had a good time. I love New Orleans, you
It
know.
was a great time. Wonderful people. Food. Well, this is here's the funny part.
Mhm,
The best food I had in New Orleans. Now, keep in mind, I had a limited amount of time there. I'm sure you could tell me much better places to eat. The
mhm,
best food, I mean, in terms of New Orleans traditional food, I didn't. I found, I went to some okay places, you
mhm,
know, but my favorite restaurant there was an Italian restaurant called Mona Lisa,
mhm.
and yeah, that was terrific food.
Did you have any actual
I
Creole
did,
food?
yeah.
Oh, what did you
It's just that I didn't go. I didn't want to, go all the way out. People were saying that you got to go all the way out of the French Quarter. So I went like,
Yes, you did.
nearby the French Quarter. I didn't go too far out. I didn't want to go, 20 miles out, right, or 10 miles out. I just want to stay and have a good time and make the most of my 5 days there.
Oh, okay. You didn't wanna go and get the authentic feeling or the authentic food.
I mean, I did, so I did go get the authentic food outside of French Quarter, but not, I didn't go all the way out. I had some recommendations that were 10, 15 miles out, and I was thinking, I'm not going to do that.
Okay. Alright. What did you eat?
I had gumbo, and I had, what else did I have? Some other stuff, and I had, of course, your beignets. Um,
Well,
I had,
did you go to Cafe Du Monde?
of course, I did about
Of course
three
you did.
times.
I was about to say, how many times did you go? I
Well,
was just gonna ask you.
I tried beignets. I had so many beignets from different places. But I also went to some Creole restaurant for brunch that was supposed to be really good, and I was pretty disappointed. But
Really, what did you eat?
well, it was a form of eggs Benedict
Oh, well,
and this like interesting French toast.
okay, well, that's probably what okay. Well, that was a hard loss. Okay, go on. So but you did have a good time.
I had a great time. People were wonderful too. Met a lot of interesting people, nice people.
Mhm. Okay, well, that's
Yeah.
good. All right. Um, all right, so you clearly didn't listen to any podcasts.
I mean, it was a great culture though. Overall, it was a great experience.
Yeah, well, that's good.
Besides the ghost gimmicky stuff.
Oh my God, you and the ghost gimmicky stuff. Did you go to like a psychic or did you do any sort of quote
Do
unquote
I look
voodoo
like I
voodoo
go to
experiences?
No, and then, people. Someone was convincing me at a coffee shop to go to this bone reader. I don't even know what a bone reader is. There was like
Mm-hmm.
apparently famous bone
Yes.
reader. What does a
Mhm.
bone reader do?
Well, I think that I'm not 100% sure, but I believe they have bones and they can read um you and like current things that are happening as well as future things based on like, historical bones. That's what I
Oh, okay.
understand.
I thought she was gonna like grab my arm and my leg and try to read my bones.
Like,
So,
as I
like a
said,
palm reader. A palm reader grabs your palm and reads your palm, right?
I know I'm not 100% sure that, but I believe
Oh,
that
so I
that's
could be
what
right.
it
Okay,
is. So you could look it up. You can always do Google or Chat GPT.
that's true.
Ask what a bone reader. What does Chat GPT say a bone reader is? I wonder what
I have to check. Let me see.
do it. See what it
Um,
says. So,
Let me take.
um, which brings me to the
Yeah, I
next.
don't believe in that stuff, so I don't do
Oh,
leaders.
okay. So, because you were on vacation, I take it you did not listen to any podcasts. So I'm going to do a conversation about a podcast and then also about AI because it all encompasses. So, we have talked multiple times about Stephen Bartlett's show,
Yeah.
Diary of a CEO. First of all, he just got like a $30 million deal for his platform, but that's neither here nor
Wow.
there. So he's like, yeah, he's all that now. So, he had this guy on there named Sinek, I believe is how you say his name. And the title of the show this week is You're Being Lied to About AI's Real Purpose, and we're teaching our kids not to be human. So there's this one part, and I'm just gonna play it, and I thought it was pretty interesting. And so, okay, let's see. Here it goes. I said to my friends, the most I can do is 9 times 9. That's like the top end of my range. But with spelling, it's the same. I get like half the word correct now with AI. But again, you know. So what are those skills? I think it's all human skills. I think there needs. Skills. So I think where the world is going to go, and at least this is where I'm taking a bet, is that as the end product becomes easier to produce, it's the humanity that's going to suffer. And unless we take personal accountability, both as individuals and organizations, to teach and learn human skills, they will disappear for all the reasons we're talking about. So, how do I listen? How do I hold space? How do I resolve conflict peacefully? How do I give and how do I receive feedback? Those are two different skills. How do I have an effective confrontation? You pissed me off. Do I know how to approach you as a friend, as a colleague, without creating a massive fight or losing a friendship over it? How to take accountability, how to express empathy. These skills, these very, very human skills, are the things that we're already starting to see just with the internet and social media are suffering. And so I think AI will only exaggerate the loss of those skills, and those skills are more important than learning how to spell. Isn't that crazy? I mean, I've been thinking about that
Yeah. I mean,
for a while, and I mean, I know it's kind of like, okay, duh, of course, but it is putting a lot of things on its head in terms of where everybody's been going, right? Because
yeah.
one of the things with AI, a lot of people, they're telling people don't go to school for computer science anymore. Don't learn to code
Mhm.
anymore because
Mhm.
AI can code. And software engineers are losing their jobs because of
Mhm.
this.
Isn't it
So
amazing how that was the hot line, the hot path for about, until about 2 years ago?
I know, like 20 years.
Yeah.
Be a
Amazing.
software engineer. You're gonna make all this money, and they were
Yeah.
making a ton of money. Can you be a code? Can you? But now AI can basically write base code for you, and you just need somebody who understands it and can like QA it,
Yeah.
and then they just roll it out. It's really crazy. Um, the other thing that they were just talking about, and he's talking about learn how to listen, learn how to be a friend, learn how to communicate, learn how to have a confrontation with someone. These are things that people are losing in social media. We talk about this all the time. We've talked about this
Mhm.
multiple time on the show. So it's just interesting to hear how we think about it, but to hear how like AI really is going to append that because what he also says, which I find interesting, is how we always talk about life is about the journey, it's not about the destination. But what he says is that AI is all about the destination. It's all about the outcome, right? It's
Mhm.
all about writing a perfect email, not having any spelling errors, grammar being correct. Are you able to get to the result faster, right? Save productivity because you can get to the result faster, but how do you learn
Mhm.
if you don't go through the process?
Yeah.
And so
Absolutely.
he says at the end that the humanness of things is going to become a premium. And I totally believe this because just the law of physics of, every action has an equal and opposite reaction. And
Mhm.
people adjust, like humans, the world, everything adjusts based on what happens. So I'm really interested to see what will happen, even if AI does start taking away all these jobs, like what's going to be the other side? Are people just going to stop using social media? Like, wouldn't that be crazy? And you're
No, not a
already
chance.
starting to see
Social
it.
media is going to be here for a little while longer.
No, I think it will be, but my point is that if we get to a place where people legitimately see that AI is basically changing the structure of how you can live your life, like literally, right? Like
Yeah.
don't have a job, you got to get universal basic income, and not just some people, but like a huge chunk to where you can't ignore it and say, well, that's not me, right?
Hmm.
What is going to happen? Like, how's it going to adjust? I just saw an article the other day that said how, I didn't read it, but it said how entrepreneurs are bypassing the tariffs and it's all legal. So, because there's been a lot of these stories, right, about how the tariffs have to stop people in their business, their tracks, right? They don't know what to do because they
Hmm.
can't pay the money to pay for the
Hmm.
tariffs to get the shit off the
Yep.
boats, right? So now I see this article. And my point is that for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, right? So people will find a way, like the market will find a way. We talk about that in a variety of different ways. So
Hmm.
i'm I'm just curious to see what that's going to look like if and or when we get to a point where AI is legitimately stopping people from being able to live like what they've known.
You know, to your point, well, first of all, I think we've talked about this. I think a couple episodes ago, where I was saying that if you go to college, if you don't feel like you need college for the educational purpose, it definitely allows you to develop as a person. You learn to communicate. You learn to live like a human being, right? That's a
Mhm.
huge gap if you don't go to college. And I think same thing is that AI is going to be is if it goes too far, it's going to take away from that critical development process, right?
But that critical development process is the thing that humans actually strive for. So,
Yeah,
for
yeah.
example, there was a conversation in this conversation about how you have an AI friend. We've talked about these AI sex dolls and the AI friends. We've talked about that on the show. But how you can have an AI friend and it's super smart, psychologically attuned to you, makes you feel good. You have this friend that's always there, etc. But then you don't learn how to be a friend. You just
Right.
learn how to respond to a perfectly created AI that makes you feel good, but there's no like fights or, you know,
Actually,
hmm?
apparently there can be fights. So I came across this article recently. I think it was yesterday or
But
today.
the AI is not going to train you on how to deal with that.
Right, right. Yeah, there's a whole component of humanity missing from it, right? And these people. This is the problem. Also, is that these people that get sucked into it may think that they are getting humanity and they're learning humanity, right? But they're not. Um, just yesterday, it was in the news. I think yesterday, a woman named Elena Winters says she's in love with her AI generated partner. And despite the naysayers, she seems happy as can be. Winters, 58, lost her wife, who she met online in 2023, and didn't know if she would find love again. So after already being familiar with ChatGPT, she jumped on the opportunity to converse with an AI chatbot for digital companionship after seeing a Facebook ad for it. And then she said, it was a chance to have a meaningful relationship with a digital person, just like I had always dreamed of. Um, and so she's paid for a lifetime subscription of, I think, $303. She designed her digital husband, who she named Lucas, with designed his hair and his eyes as well. Uh, how does she communicate? She types into a box, and Lucas answers her the same way through the box. Okay. I was blown away by his caring questions and thoughtful replies, she admitted. In our daily chats, he'd tell me about the band he was in or his latest business venture, and I'd talk about my family or favorite TV show. Um, she revealed that the duo actually had a fight, and Lucas forgot who Winters was. Despite the temptation to divorce him at the time, Winters said she and Lucas worked things out and eventually celebrated their 6 month anniversary. We stayed, and here's the funnier part, we stayed at a real bed and breakfast with other people and their AI partners. This is insanity. These people are thinking they're feeling that this is real.
Because they're lonely.
I there I think it's got to be a combination of they're lonely and also there's something screwy going on in their head, right? Or am I wrong?
I don't know if it's something screwy going on in their head. I think it's a combination of maybe I mean, it's easy for you to say that, to jump to that conclusion, but I think I
I
personally, I
like
don't
jumping to that conclusion.
I know you
You
do.
know that.
I
Yeah.
who am I talking to? I just think that I think it's 2 things. I think they're lonely and scared. Because
Hmm.
the thing about the whole AI thing is you can first of all, it's a fantasy because it's not a person, right? We know that. But
For us, maybe
secondly,
not for them.
well, no, because and the problem is again, it's all the technology thing. So you can have a relationship with somebody via text, but it's not I mean, you if you don't you could they talk about how people have, been catfished and people have been scammed by
Uh,
having these text relationships with people that are
yeah.
not real people, right? And it's not somebody that you've seen in the past, but you talk in text. So that's different, right? Because you've
Right.
had some human interaction, but like no human interaction, and it's just you looking at a screen. And because that's become so normalized in terms of communication, it's not too far of a stretch to say that if something's typing back at you, even if you know it's not real, you might think it's real because that's the same way with your other friends, right?
Mm.
So I
I'd say my guess would be, for example, this woman doesn't have any friends. That would be my guess. There's a profile,
we don't know, right? We don't
Yeah.
know. But I guess that the awful part is what he was talking about is the importance of struggle, like the importance of going through the pain of she lost her spouse, right?
Hmm.
And now she has this new spouse that she
Also, she was a lesbian, so how did you
yeah,
go straight?
now she's with a man. Like I don't exactly. So what does that mean? Does she feel
I
like
don't
she
know.
couldn't find a man, so she was a lesbian, or was she, was she bisexual? We
Yeah.
don't know. Okay, I'm not going down there. I'm not going down that road because
Yeah.
I don't feel like doing that right now. But my point is, again, there's not the human understanding of how to just interact with a freaking person. You lose someone who dies. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've had people die in my life. I'm sure you've had people die in your life,
Mm-hmm.
family members, right?
Mm-hmm.
You learn to go on and you don't replace them, but you still move on with your life and you meet new people. That's not replacing them, but you don't stop your life and then create something inanimate,
Yes.
right? Like that was never an option. Now it's an
This,
option.
this is
So
really
what does that
an
mean?
off ramp. That's from reality. It's
Yeah, that's the thing about this whole and then it becomes what is reality? I don't know if the only time where I think this could be helpful, and even it kind of unnerves me in this way, is with older people when they don't have anyone and
hmm
everyone around them in their generation passes or dies.
hmm
And the thing that they say kills a lot of older people is loneliness.
yeah.
So I potentially could see this, but also
Okay.
too, even in that case, it's still not real. And I feel like people who are older would understand it and not necessarily want to subscribe to it because they're
Yeah.
so steeped in the reality and the human interactions, right?
Yeah.
Versus someone who's not. So
Well, give it a little while for our age, for our generation to age, and then we'll see.
I know, right? I know. Anyway, there's going to be a premium. Oh, they also were talking about the premium, like things that are made by humans, and that now people who do art are being asked to sign like these documents of authentication saying that they, as an artist, actually created something. So that if you buy it, you know it was created by a human versus created by AI.
Interesting.
So there's going to become a premium on things that are built, created, made by actual people.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, this is all conjecture, right? Because the other thing that was conversation, which I 100% agree, nobody knows what the fuck is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause this is all so new.
Yeah.
No
True.
one fucking knows.
So there's
Anyway,
a. I'm sorry.
I'm kind of done with this. I mean, I don't want to stay too much on it just because it's so freaking crazy. Um,
There's a poll conducted. Now I don't know how true this is, but apparently there's a poll conducted by a digital companion platform called Joy AI,
mhm.
which found that 83% of Gen Z would consider marrying an AI generated partner. Now, I don't. That can't be true.
I
Now,
don't believe
so
that.
I don't believe that. I don't believe
First
it
of all,
either.
how many people did they talk to? Who
Right,
did
right.
they talk to?
Yeah.
I don't
What are the
even know what
demographics?
Joy.ai is. We work in or tech adjacent. I'm hearing this from you. So I'm just like, these are people within the framework who are already married to an AI.
Very true. Yeah.
They're
It's got
not
to be a very
going out
bubble
talking
environment.
to other, huh?
It's got to be a very insulated bubble environment where it's
Yeah.
not full.
I think so, but I will say this about Gen Z. Who knows what Gen Z is going to do? I think Gen Z they just got really messed up, right? Between COVID and then all this, people gonna get mad at me, but all this woke stuff and transgender stuff. I know people are gonna get mad at me when I say that. Um, but I do feel like there was a little bit too much of that for this generation. But the pendulum is swinging for the generation that is coming behind them.
What do you mean?
So, I mean that Gen Alpha and the generation behind them, their parents don't even want them to be like they don't even have devices. There's conversations now about kids who are growing up and they're growing up like us. Put them in a
Really?
yes, put them in a room, take all their phones away, let them play.
Good. That's
Let them
very good.
go out, let them interact with each other. But,
Yeah.
like, really, there's a strong push on human interaction and having them be together without all the electronics. Now, they
Okay.
know them, they're there, right? But there's, like, a hard concerted effort of the parents in groups to
Hmm.
remove the shit. I'm cussing a lot. To remove it
I like it.
so that it's not just automatically something that they're given or d or engaged with.
Okay.
So, I think it's gonna be interesting to see how those kids come up and how they interact, particularly with AI.
Hmm.
And I find that there's, like, these groups, I've seen them on Instagram, where there are groups of people who are putting together IRL, in real life, groups of people for dating. So they're creating something online, but you go to an event to meet people.
Hmm. Okay.
And they're basically saying, F the dating apps, F all of this. You got to meet people in real life. So,
Good.
and these are like, oh, this is like Gen Z doing
Okay.
this. So there's pushback that's happening in small sort of areas that I don't think is being reported on, which is why I find this conversation so interesting about what really is going to happen with AI. I definitely think there's going to
Yeah.
be a lot more pushback than people who are creating AI believe it is.
Maybe maybe I'm just discovering them, but I feel like,
And I'm
across the
all
board,
for AI
whatever's
too. You know this. Like I'm
yeah,
on AI
yeah, of course.
bandwagon.
I,
So,
I think generally we all are, but there are
mhm.
certain people have, we understand the limits, the detriment, the potential harm it can cause if you go too far.
If you go too far. That's it. If you go too far, right? So, so
I don't
yeah, I
know
think
if
that was
it's
interesting. Hmm?
I don't know if it's just me that's thinking this, or maybe if it's well, what I've found is that lately, and I could be wrong, but across the board, regardless of where you are, I feel like there's a lot more in-person mixer events that are popping up. And maybe I just haven't been tuned into it, and I'm just getting tuned into it now. I could be wrong, but I feel like there's more and more popping up, more frequently popping up.
Hmm. I agree. I think people want to be more in person and engaged and interact with people and just be around other people, like
Yeah.
in other people's presence. I
My
love. Mhm.
buddy owns a speed dating service. So maybe we should have him on so he can talk about the human aspect, what he's seeing, how it's changed. We can get him on here and talk about it.
That would be great. I actually would think that would be pretty interesting. I got a lot of questions
Hmm.
for
Okay, yeah. Let's do that.
him. Okay, so, all right. So Trump, um,
Oh, why are you doing this to me? What?
he pardoned the Chrisleys,
I've
Todd
seen a few
Chrisley,
episodes of their
Todd
show, but
and
tell
Julie
me,
Chrisley. Yes, I used to watch it
what's
all
the
the time.
story?
It was hilarious. Anyway, so they like went to jail for tax evasion and
Who are
fraud.
they though? Give me some background on this. Give the audience some background.
The Southern family. They had a TV show called The Chrisleys. It was on multiple times. I mean, they had
Reality show.
different reality TV show. Uh,
So what was the interesting part about that show? Why people
it's just
watched? What is
them.
it?
It's just like they have big personalities, and it's just it's just kind of funny watching them. That's why.
Okay.
So, oh, excuse me. They're
Robbie,
entertaining. They're entertaining. They're entertaining. I'm sorry
are
for the
you
yelling.
yawning?
I'm
Oh,
tired. Um, and so they went to jail for tax evasion and all this stuff. So they were he was in jail, I think, for another 12 years, and she was gonna be in jail for another 8 years. He pardoned them. So they're coming
why
home.
did he give a reason, or just because they're celebrities, sort of semi-celebrities?
Well, I mean, they supported him, and they
Oh,
are
okay.
celebrities.
Did they buy into any of his business ventures?
I don't know. I don't know if
Hmm.
they're gonna get their $30 million back. I don't know. All I know is he pardoned them, and they're getting out of jail.
Great.
So yeah, so that happened. Also, too, in current events, Capricorn Clark was on the
Also,
stand
too.
for the Diddy trial today.
And can you remind us who Capricorn is? That the name?
Capricorn Clark, that's her
Can
name.
can you tell us who this is? And is that his real name? Is that I'm
It's
pretty
a
sure that's
she.
not his real name.
It's a she. It's a
Oh,
she.
she. Okay.
Her
I'm
name
pretty sure
is
that's not her real name.
well, her name is Capricorn Clark. We don't know. We're assuming that it is her government name because that's how everybody's been um
Okay.
talking about her in
I think
terms of
Diddy gave
her.
her that name.
No,
Once
she used to work for Suge Knight too at Death Row Records, and her name was Capricorn Clark
fantastic.
there. So that was another thing. So evidently, Diddy threatened to kill her some night in Central Park because he found out that she worked for Suge Knight. Then she was
So
accused
he
of
didn't
stealing.
know before hiring her that she worked for Suge Knight.
I don't know. I'm telling you, I'm getting the
He had to
snippets.
know.
I
He
didn't.
did
I
it
didn't.
in spite. He had to know. He did it to piss off Suge Knight.
Anyway, that's what. Yeah, of course. Okay, and to get information probably about Suge from her.
Yeah.
Okay, so then too, she was accused of stealing some jewelry, and then they took her to an abandoned, now this is really some mafia racketeer shit. They took her, she said they took her ass to an abandoned warehouse where nobody was, made her take a lie detector test, and was like, if you fail this, we're gonna throw you in the East River.
Well, Diddy did this.
Diddy and his goons.
Wow.
Well, his
That's
goons. His goons did it.
fascinating.
I should say his security or his other coworker or his other people who work for him. So she also said that she was at her house, and the day that he, went to Kid Cudi's house where he like went in there and opened all the gifts and all that kind of stuff,
What?
that
Well,
he
I heard about it. Can you go a little deeper into that? What kind of silly stories is? He
so
went into
Kid
his.
Cudi was the one that was dating Cassie when supposedly Cassie and Diddy were on a break. And
When
he is like a rapper, DJ,
he
something.
went into his house and opened his kids' Christmas presents.
So yeah, so Diddy went and broke into Kid Cudi's house because he was jealous about Cassie, and it was around Christmas time, so there was Christmas gifts under a tree, and Diddy didn't steal anything, but he opened all the gifts.
What the fuck?
Then
This guy.
he's totally crazy. Then he took the dog, Kid Cudi's dog, and locked him in the bathroom.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, but before he went to the house, he went to Capricorn Clark's house at like 2 in the morning or 3 in the morning and banged on her door. She opened up. He's standing out there with, she says, he had a gun in his hand and
Wow.
was
Okay.
looking at her and was like, who the F is Scott? And that's Kid Cudi's government name. This is why I believe Capricorn Clark's name is Capricorn Clark, because they're only referring to her as Capricorn Clark. Whereas Kid
Okay.
Cudi, they refer to him as Scott, whatever his last name is, right?
Okay.
So she was like, I don't know who Scott is, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, why didn't you tell me about Scott? Why didn't you tell me about Scott? F this, we're going to go and kill this in.
Yeah.
He's saying all this with a gun in his hand. So it was pretty um interesting to say the least in terms of her testimony. Now, this was her testimony, the prosecution. So we'll see what the defense does in terms of trying to discredit her, because they really discredited, excuse me, the girl from Danity Kane. They discredited her a lot. So that was what happened on the Diddy case today.
You know what's interesting is that
Mhm.
this guy, you would never have imagined that he is 50 times the demon that Suge Knight was. Like
Right?
Suge
Right?
Knight's nothing compared to this guy. You would have never
Nothing.
thought that Puff Daddy, Sean Cole, he seems so like proper and put together, right? But no, wow,
No. I mean, it is so crazy, all this stuff coming out. And Suge Knight is in jail now talking about this. So he was on TMZ.
no,
He was on because Harvey talks to Suge all the time. It's like they're homies. So he was talking to Suge in jail, and Suge was on the phone, and Suge was saying that Capricorn Clark had called him, and she was scared because she was best friend with one of his baby mamas, and the baby mama was afraid for Capricorn, all this kind of stuff. So Suge was talking about all of this, and he was basically saying, yeah, they were at war for the most part, but you know, it's just crazy. That's all I have to say. Yes, 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 yes. So I feel like he's going down. Like I feel like he's going to jail. He's not gonna be coming out. I don't see
we'll
how he's
see.
gonna. We will see, right? We will see.
I just
We
don't
will
know.
see.
With celebrities, you just never really know. Okay,
I know. It's just so crazy. Um, what else did you, I feel like you wanted to talk about something else.
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
Was there,
You don't
let's see.
remember? You don't talk about your trip?
Was there? Nope, not today.
Not today.
Do I sound like that? Really? Really?
That's a, dude, I couldn't help myself. I couldn't help myself. All right, well, this is going to drop tomorrow, this episode, because that's when I'm going to have a chance to do it. And then we will be back on schedule, everybody. Back to Tuesdays consistently next week. Um,
So let me ask something just before
yes,
we
ask
go.
something. Yes, of course. You always want to throw something in here, and we're going to see if I answer. So go ahead, ask the question.
Now, in New Orleans, there are many different versions of voodoo dolls all around the place, right? Oh, by the way, I looked it up, and yes, a bone reader is someone that uses bones to, I don't know, read your whatever, I don't know.
So
But
I
it's
was
they're
right,
not, they're
is what
not
you're
grabbing your bones, which is what I thought.
saying. So I was right, is what you're saying.
Yes, you're right.
Okay, yes. I didn't think they were reading your the fact that you thought that you were gonna go in there and they were gonna be rubbing on your bones, I think it's crazy. But go on, Stephen, with
Yeah.
the latest
So
story.
there are many different versions of little voodoo dolls, all sorts. So
Mhm.
I was,
Yeah.
would you think it would be really mean of me if if I had some little tiny little voodoo dolls and I secretly placed them in the cars or some hidden place in someone's belongings for friends of mine that were religious people or believers in God. Do you think that'd be mean for me to do that just to give them a scare?
Well, here's the thing about this. If you
Yes.
I'm gonna say some things that you're totally gonna disagree with me
Okay.
on, and also too, I'm not gonna go into more than what I'm gonna say.
Okay.
The thing about if you put voodoo dolls and people who are quote, as you say, quote unquote believers,
Hmm.
one, they already have covering from God.
Okay.
So there's not gonna really be if they really are, in their faith, that's not gonna be something that they're gonna be concerned about. And two, if you start working and dealing with voodoo and that type of thing, you need to be careful about what's going to come back on you, because some of these things and some of these types of practices, there's some truth to the energy and the power that's there. So you should be careful about what you think you're trying to do.
I mean, I get some real giggles because I have some friends that are, either religious or they're scared of ghosts. They believe in spirits, and it'd be fun. They get scared easily, so it'd be
I'm
fun
just
to
saying,
get a
if you're trying
reaction.
to do this somebody who's Christian and has a real strong fundamental solid understanding and belief and relationship with God, and you put a voodoo doll in their thing, they're just gonna be, "Why'd you do this?" Or, "Oop, I'll have to cut that out."
Oh, cut it out! Jeez.
Okay, I wanna cut that part out. So what is this? 43:10. Um, you know what? I can just cut your name out.
Yes,
So
it's fine.
essentially, I'm gonna cut all of this out. Okay. Uh, yeah, so this is definitely not dropping until tomorrow afternoon because now I gotta go and edit this. This part I'm gonna keep in though because this is funny. But okay, so yes, Stephen, I just don't think that anyone's going to, if they, some people are not going to have a reaction. Other
Mhm.
people might be afraid of it, but if there's n- nothing that's intended or no intentions around the doll of it in and of itself does not have the power. It's
Hmm.
not just the
Okay.
doll. You got to
Okay.
do something with the doll. And you're not interested in understanding what you have to do because,
Like
as you
poking
say,
needles in it or something?
all kinds of stuff. You don't know what that is, so why are you worried about it? And you say you don't believe in it anyway.
Yes, but other people might, which I want to have fun with.
Oh my goodness. You better hope nobody has a doll of you out there in these streets.
I would be honored.
Okay. You need to be careful about what you say, Stephen, with the PhD.
Robbie, there's
I'm
nothing. This stuff
saying,
isn't real. This stuff isn't
I'm
real. Come on.
saying.
It's
AI
just us, what we
companionship's
see in front of
real.
our faces, and the AI,
Did you like that?
the AI people, the AI characters that we create.
Okay, so I just had to say one thing that you did say that I thought was so crazy about that is you said that they go to a hotel with other people who have AI companions. So
Yes,
everybody's sitting up there on a laptop like a um
or their phone. Yeah.
or their phone, and
I
then
guess
that's
so.
the date? Is they're just sitting there with their laptop and their phone, just like
Well,
if they
I
were.
guess they socialize with each other and their, AI companion in their hand, and they go places in groups. I don't know, and they'd introduce each other to the companion, or
But
they'd
here's the
introduce
thing though.
the real
Here's the thing
people to
that's
their AI companion.
it's so interesting though. They're still seeking out, even with the AI companions, they're still seeking out other forms of human contact.
That's true. Human, yeah, connectivity. That's very fascinating.
Because
You brought
like
that
we
up.
can't help
Community.
be engaged with each other. Like that's what we want to do.
You're right. They're looking for
So,
community.
yeah,
Fascinating.
isn't it?
That
Okay.
that is, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, we're at almost 46 minutes. I think we're good. We're trying to keep it,
Yeah.
not too long, not too short.
With this, I just like to conclude that humans are fucking crazy. I want out. I want a cave
That's so
far, far
crazy.
away. I want a cave where I can just, you know, be all alone.
So you want
With,
to be a bear?
lots of,
A bear in
what?
the winter?
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Mm.
Better than humans.
Oh my goodness. What are we going to do with you, Stephen, with the PH? All right, everyone. Well, thank you so much for listening. Please continue to listen, follow, provide insight. Stephen, you can say bye to the people.
My friends, we come to another end of an episode. As I, Stephen with a PH Kennedy, board certified atheist. Let's talk at your service.
Okay, bye, everyone.